What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the CotAcasT. My name is Brian Bermudez, and I'm the host of the Crafted Air podcast, the aviation podcast that expands your knowledge of aviation in each episode. Join us as we explore the untold world of aviation together. I'm so glad that you guys are tuned in for another episode of the CotAcasT. I ask you guys, and I hope that everybody is staying safe out there, and this common theme of safety really coming into aviation. We read about it, we hear about it, and it's something that has hit the news in aviation this week. Some positive news in aviation. U.S. Senate leaders introducing a groundbreaking $107 billion aviation policy bill. And it's something that it looks to greatly enhance air travel safety and enhance the quality of air travel within the United States. And really in a time where, flight delays, soaring ticket prices, safety concerns, they're all on the rise. This is a bill that it looks to not only address critical issues such as runway safety, family, seating fees, family sitting together and the fees associated with that, and ticket refund standards. But it goes beyond that. And it looks to address, broader challenges, including infrastructure development, sustainability goals, and workforce shortages is really a big part of it. And we hear an interesting quote by one of the senators, Ms. Cantwell, and she addresses this where, part of this bill is looking to, provide funding for the latest safety technology, not only, in airports and in runways, but part of it is going to, to hire more air traffic controllers, pilots, and mechanics, something that is critical. And so this bill is addressing so many different things, and over 800 pages in the packet. I break it all down for you and give you the need to know specifics in 20 minutes in this episode of the CotAcasT. First things first, today's episode of the CotAcasT is brought to you by Craft of the Air. Stuck on ideas, looking to facilitate advances in aviation maintenance? Consulting by COTA possesses unique resources to elevate your aviation projects to new heights. Get comprehensive advice, detailed reports, cutting-edge data on innovative solutions, all to empower you to make confident decisions. Are you an A&P student? Need a refresher? Look no further than CRAM by COTA, consolidated reviews of aviation maintenance, tailored courses of your choice, led by a certified A&P subject matter expert. And it's going to ensure that you're fully prepared to excel in any aviation maintenance exam. With aviation maintenance training and consulting, COTA is a second you when you need it. Visit www.craftedair.com. Again, that's www.craftedair.com today and learn everything COTA can do for you. So, I dive right into it. This groundbreaking $107 billion aviation policy bill that was introduced on Monday. Now, leaders of the Senate Commerce Committee on Monday, they introduced this bipartisan aviation policy bill, and is really looking to boost runway safety. Get this, track high altitude balloons. A lot of people remember that whole fiasco with the Chinese weather balloon. The part of this bill also includes provisions to tackle things like prohibiting airlines from charging fees for families to sit together. Now, additionally, House lawmakers have taken a really big step, forward as well, with Transportation and the Infrastructure Committee voting, and they voted on June 14th, 63-0. It was an approval, unanimous, and this is going to be a wide-ranging 5-year FAA reauthorization. And it's interesting because for, construction and engineering companies and groups, the bill's most significant provision is this $20 billion authorization over 5 years for the FAA's Airport Improvement Program, or AIP. And, we're going to have funds there for a lot of construction grants as well. Now, at $4 billion annually, the funding represents a 19% increase from levels in the current FAA measure, which was actually enacted in 2018. Now, the Commerce Committee, they say that the proposal authorizes a total of $107 billion. And like the House Committee's bill, the Senate panel includes $20 billion for airport grants. So this is very, very positive news in this area in terms of airports. This is something that's going to support the infrastructure of more than 3,300 airports nationwide. Now, additionally, nearly $2 billion go towards FAA research, engineering, development, global sustainability goals. Who's in charge of all of this? This big bill, this positive bill? Round of applause. Senate Commerce Committee Chair Maria Cantwell, a Democrat, and top Republican Ted Cruz. They're working together on this, Democrats and Republicans. And they have aviation subcommittee leaders, Senators Tammy Duckworth and Jerry Moran. They've all been a part of this. Great work. Should be applauded by everyone on this one. They've proposed this $107 billion 5-year reauthorization for the FAA. Ms. Cantwell said, quote, "When we fly, we expect to get where we're going safely and at a reasonable cost. But with mass flight cancellations, runway near misses, and skyrocketing prices, Americans are getting frustrated. The bipartisan FAA Reauthorization Act will help get the air transportation system soaring again by improving safety and service. The bill provides funding for the latest safety technology on runways and to hire more air traffic controllers, pilots, and mechanics. The bill also sets the first ever clear ticket refund standard for delayed flights and will penalize airlines that sell tickets on flights that they do not have the staff or technology to operate." That's critical. This is critical. In response to several near misses at U.S. airports and currently under investigation by the NTSB, the Senate bill also requires that the FAA must increase runway safety, and this is going to be by deploying the latest airport surface detection equipment and technologies. It must also allocate more than $18 billion to modernize key technologies and systems at FAA facilities. The bill also requires that the FAA complete, and these are all the contingencies here, that the FAA complete the last stage of its next generation air transportation system, or next gen program, by December 31st, 2025. Now, everyone is, or many people in aviation, many companies and well-known executives and presidents are praising the introduction of this bill. AIA President and CEO Eric Fanning praised the inclusion of the measures to build the talent pipeline and the infrastructure, while AOPA President and CEO Mark Baker said, quote, "There has never been a more comprehensive FAA reauthorization or any legislation for that matter specifically intended to help our nation's general aviation sector," end quote. And that's interesting. Today I was at a event, an MBAA event, the 2023 White Plains Regional Forum, and you see such a presence of general aviation, and you start to realize the impact that it has on the community, and really the community, and so much far beyond that. And so it's great, and it's interesting to see somebody take note of that and note that the FAA is looking in to improving the general aviation sector. Looking to as AOPA President and CEO Mark Baker said, really intending to help the overall nation's general aviation sector. So it is important to note that. Transportation and Infrastructure Chairman Sam Graves, he noted that the proposal is aimed at, keeping the U.S. the gold standard, quote, the gold standard of aviation safety, and innovation really is key. Something you can innovation over time, and it's key really at a time where it's being threatened, where we have so many near misses and safety incidents making the news globally. The U.S. being that gold standard of aviation safety, that's something that may be in jeopardy. Graves, he highlighted that many of this bill's major themes are critical and in everyone's best interest. Graves, he went on to say, quote, it's critical to keeping America a global leader in aviation, end quote. And really, he's really warning the country of this gold standard, this status that we have of being, just the best at everything in aviation, whether it's safety and performance and training. It's something that's being threatened by global competition, shortages in aviation maintenance professionals, and inefficiency and lack of leadership, really. And this is across the board, including in the FAA. Graves was really, and Mr. Graves was really alluding to just numerous challenges that the aviation sector has faced just in the recent months. And this is including, a notice to air missions for a shutdown, outdated technology, staffing shortages, and several very concerning near misses at U.S. airports. Mr. Graves went on to say, quote, our bipartisan legislation will improve critical infrastructure for airports of all sizes, streamline the FAA bureaucracy, strengthen the nation's general aviation sector, encourage the more rapid deployment of safe technology innovations, and address workforce challenges throughout the aviation system, end quote. Excuse me. Mr. Graves went on to say, quote, not only does this legislation provide long-term stability and funding for the FAA, it also authorizes the important safety work of the NTSB, or the National Transportation Safety Board, end quote. Now, this nearly 800-page packet, it calls for $100 billion in funding for the FAA and airports until the year 2028. And it also addresses key topics such as, FAA reform, workforce development, airport infrastructure, and aviation safety, amongst many other things. National Business Aviation Association President CEO Ed Bolin said in a statement, quote, the House reauthorization measure offers a clear roadmap towards a more focused, more responsive, and more innovative FAA for all stakeholders, end quote. That's an excellent quote by CEO of the NBAA, Ed Bolin. Now, one of the more controversial aspects of the bill was really this proposal that many people are speaking of. Is probably overdue as well, in my opinion. And this proposal for a 25-hour cockpit voice recorder and the installation of crash-proof video recorders in the cockpit. Now, under the provision, airlines would have 7 years to install the devices within their fleets, while the FAA would have 3 years to establish the requirements for these. The move to these video recorders and the 25-hour CVR, or cockpit voice recorder, is really something the NTSB has a really long advocated for, and for in order to attain greater insights following, tragic incidents or any incident really. Still, the bill would not set, a minimum seat requirement. And that's something that a lot of people thought this bill may address, a minimum seat requirement for airline seats. This bill does not set a minimum seat requirement, and it really doesn't adopt many consumer protections sought by President Biden and the administration. And this was including compensation for lengthy delays caused by airlines. Also, proposals. Also, this proposal is not, and this is another thing that many people thought it would include, but the proposal is not addressing some, issues like raising the maximum age for pilots or expanding the number of longer flights allowed from Washington National Airport. And this was something that a lot of people thought was a sure shot, something that was going to be easily put in there, but they were not. Now, the National Transportation Safety Board is still, and it's interesting. The National Transportation Safety Board is still investigating several runway incursions, and this is just back, dating back to January. Some of them could have been very catastrophic. And it's, this bill is critical in the sense that it requires the FAA to increase runway safety by deploying, the latest airport surface detection equipment and technologies available. And it's good. Another important thing, thinking in terms of safety, the bill would also make permanent a transportation department website feature, and it's called a dashboard, and it's going to allow consumers to compare information about airlines. And it's also going to require the department to create another dashboard that shows consumers a minimum seat size for each U.S. airline. So it's interesting, interesting tools that are becoming available to the public, some informational tools that the public can use to their advantage when they're traveling. The bill also includes a proposal from Senator Mark Kelly to mandate tracking systems on high altitude weather and research balloons to help the U.S. military kind of, tell the difference between potential threats. And he called for the idea, after the U.S. Shot down a Chinese weather balloon. I was, because we don't know what it actually was, right? The Senate bill would ban, in addition to all of these things, the Senate bill would also ban family seating fees, as does the House bill, and it would prohibit airlines from reducing frequent flyer programs unless the air carrier provides a 90-day notice. So you still got to check the inbox for that one. The Senate bill will require that the refund request buttons at the top of the websites, you really have to applaud that, because some people may, they want a refund, but they really don't know how to go about the process. Well, this bill is requiring that refund request button is right there on the website at the top where everyone can see it. So that's really important, and it's going to be very helpful for many people that may not have been necessarily inclined to request a refund in the past is something that is much more easier for people to find. Airlines would also be required to display any types of additional fees to customers prior to booking. Airports would have to display the Know Your Rights poster with information about passenger rights. So that's also something that improves, enhances passenger air travel throughout the United States and kind of brings us up to modernization and coming up to, where we see a lot of other airports around the world, or a lot of airport systems around the world. Now, this FAA Reauthorization Act of 2023, it also directs, this is an important one, but it also directs the FAA to establish a pathway for beyond visual line of sight, and that's BVLOS. Establish a pathway for beyond visual line of sight. And operations, and really what this is it creates two additional test sites for companies to start using UAVs, unmanned aircraft, for package delivery and other operations. And this is fantastic. And in addition, this would the bill would also have support for pathways to certification for AAM powered lift aircraft. So really some amazing things there outside of aviation safety, airport infrastructure and consumer protections. And the extensive bill also addresses, important initiatives such as, job pathways for veterans. I know a lot of veterans listening, that's an important one. And it looks like they are addressing that in this bill. Another thing going into that is efforts to support women in aviation, flight attendant, self-defense training, and pilot mental health. The House is expected to hash out the legislation during the hearings this week at the Senate Committee on Commerce. Science and Transportation works on drafting its own version of the bill, while the hearing is expected today on Thursday. Congress has until September 30th to pass the bill before the current reauthorization expires. So we hope and we really hope and we really envision, everybody in aviation envisions such great things coming out of this $107 billion, over 800-page bill that is just, it looks so promising. And it just makes us so excited. That about wraps it up for this episode of the CotAcasT. If you guys have not done so already, check out the Craft of the Air website at www.craftoftheair.com. Again, that's www.craftoftheair.com, and get your free initial consultation today. Craft of the Air, our craft is of the air. Comments or suggestions about this or future episodes, let's get in touch. Visit that website, www.craftoftheair.com. Go to contact and put in the subject CotAcasT. Thanks again for listening to today's episode of the CotAcasT. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Craft of the Air Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube channel. We're live now, and that way you get the latest CotAcasT and Craft of the Air updates. And please rate and review the CotAcasT. We're now streaming on Spotify, Apple, Prime, Pandora, Google Podcasts, and YouTube, and every possible platform you could imagine. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a great day. Be safe, and we'll be seeing you soon.